Welcome to the Makeover Your Mindset podcast. I'm Cassie McKenzie. Think of me as your BFF for manifestation and high vibe mindset makeovers. It's my personal mission to turn your inspiration into action so you can be, do, and have everything you've ever dreamed of having in life. This podcast will focus a ton on creating fulfilling relationships with money, friends, and soulmates, and inspire you to have fun so you can live the most extraordinary life you've ever imagined. If you're ready to take to the next step, then you've come to the right place. Thanks again for joining me. Now let's begin. Hello, this is Cassie McKenzie back for another episode of the Makeover Your Mindset podcast. This episode, I have something truly special. I had the opportunity and the honor to be a guest in my friend Kelly Dunlap's health and wellness group called the Mindset and Metabolism Mastery with Kelly Dunlap. We met when we were both in training for NLP practitioner, to become NLP practitioners back in February, and Kelly is an absolute jewel. So she had me on her group to talk about manifestation and how that relates to our everyday lives, and really we dove a little deeper into how that can affect, your goals when you're manifesting like health goals or weight goals. And I know a lot of times on my podcast, I talk a lot about money and how you can manifest money through certain manifestation practices. But this was another, like a cool treat. This is a cool treat for you to listen to. I do want to say I had my podcasting, what do you call it? Oh my God, my kids have melted my brain. I'm so sorry. I had my podcasting microphone plugged into my computer when we recorded this live on her Mindset and Metabolism Mastery group. And so the sound is a little off, but, because I'm a little louder than she is, but don't fear, you can still hear it. And I did ask my husband if that was cool, and he is a big heart. He's a tough critic. Even he said it was all right. It was great. It was wonderful. So anyway, hope you guys are all doing well. And here is the conversation that we had about not just mindset and metabolism, but manifestation and how to get to your ideal weight. So here you go. Love ya. Mean it. Bye.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. This is my friend Cassie.
Hi.
I'm so excited. Hey, so excited to have Cassie with us tonight. I met Cassie when I went to Georgia, and we both took the NLP course, and I had the pleasure of meeting her and her husband. Mm-hmm. And you guys, is it California that you live in, Cassie?
Well, we live in St. Augustine, Florida right now, but we met in San Diego when we lived there.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Because you've moved around quite a bit.
A lot. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Awesome. So Cassie is all about manifestation. She actually just went to a Tony Robbins event, which is really cool.
I did.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring her on because I wanted her to share the basics of manifestation. I think for some people they think, oh, manifest, whatever. Like, okay, yeah, I want to get a new car, bring it on. Mm-hmm. Or I'm going to create a vision board. All I got to do is stare at it. So I just wanted to bring her on so that she can share with you some, maybe dispel some myths.
True.
And also maybe we could talk about like the subconscious mind, because that was really about what we learned. And now that I have the education of the subconscious mind, I know how much more powerful manifestation really is, and how that does.
Mm-hmm. Right. It does. Yeah.
So I'm going to hand over the mic to you.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm excited to learn.
Sounds good.
The dogs. He's trying to get the dogs upstairs.
Oh, yeah.
With our dogs, guys. We won't even get into that. But anyway,
yeah.
Minor emergency, kind of.
Hey, it happens. That's life, right? It happens here, too. Oh, for sure. But yay, I'm so excited to join you. And yes, we did go to a Tony Robbins event, and I think the thing that sticks out to me about all the stuff that I've studied and the things that I teach on and coach on and NLP training and also, going to the Tony Robbins event is that it all boils down to the thoughts that we think every day on a consistent basis, because that's what creates the beliefs that drive all of our actions on a day-to-day basis and a minute-to-minute basis. And even I will dispel some myths. I've got like a few things in mind that usually are the things that trip people up the most. But, really manifestation's easy. Like we do it all day long. We do it whether we realize it or not. And, whether you're manifesting, it's not all like, good things that apply to manifestation. It's the bad things that happen too, because everything happens, right, as a result of our thoughts.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking earlier, I'm like, people don't realize it, but they're manifesting all day long. I'm so glad you said that, because the people that have I call it the liver stew being stirred up instead of a filet mignon.
Yeah.
They're manifesting the liver stew.
Right.
And
yeah.
People are getting the filet mignon lifestyle. It all has to do with their belief systems. Period. End of story.
It does. It really does. And that's what drives all of the thoughts that we have, the sentences we say, everything that comes out of our mouth starts at first with a thought. Every invention that's ever come about has to, even this Zoom, life book, Facebook through Zoom, through your computer that you're watching or your phone came from a thought that somebody had. So manifestation really comes down to watching at a basic level the thoughts that we have, because that's what creates the intentions that we set. And so, we can say all day long, like, I don't have any, no weeds, there's no weeds, right, in my garden, right? But they might still be there, and you're going to just have to go and pick them out, which is akin to us looking at the beliefs that we have and, just noticing them, dispelling them, and substituting them and with replacing them with new beliefs that are more empowering. So similar to
I think the first step is, for a lot of us, is recognizing when those thoughts come up. Because most of the time when there is no awareness of that, people don't even recognize the thoughts. They're just going over and over and spinning over and over in their head. But it does take practice, I guess you would say, or just that created awareness of getting that. I don't know what my son's doing. He's running all over the place. But it does, to catch the thought. Yeah. To actually, whoa.
Yeah.
I know for myself, it took like reading several books. I don't know about you, but one of the most powerful books for me was, and this, I don't know if you consider this a manifestation book or not, but looking back at it, I kind of do, but The Power of Now.
Okay. Yeah. And that one. Yeah. That's deep.
It changed my life.
Yeah.
That's where I felt the major shift. But that's really probably the first step for me.
Oh, are you there?
Oh, and I love the reference to the garden. I forgot about that.
Yeah. 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 And it's so true. And I do look at our front garden a whole lot differently. I'm like, oh, there really are weeds there. Like, oh, thanks. But yeah, it is. And it's all about they mentioned in NLP about most of the anxiety that we have is putting pressure on future events that haven't happened yet. And then a lot of the depression or depressive thoughts that we have are based off of past things that we can't change. And really all we can change is this current moment and the decisions that you make today. And the thing I really take to heart is how your reality might not look the best right now, but it's not a reason to give up, because it's just based off of it. It's only been created from thoughts that you've had up until this point. So like if you're not at, the certain level of health that you want, or the weight that you want, or the, nutrition or whatever, you look in your refrigerator and it's not the food that you want. Well, that's just based off of decisions you made in the past and maybe beliefs you had in the past that you can easily change right now and make the change just in the shift in how you notice the thought that you have. And if it's not in alignment with where you want to be, you just say, that's interesting. Like, where did that come from? And a lot of people journal. They use journaling as a way to get it out because it's a way to release a lot of those like limiting beliefs or limiting thoughts that we have, that then you replace with the more empowering thoughts that'll get you the results that you want. Because like we learned in NLP training and just from so many books, like I totally dork out on the subconscious brain stuff. Like I think it's just fascinating. And so it's like, it's so interesting to me that if you, especially with that reticular activating system in your brain, like if you start to notice, oh, I want a white Maserati, right? That might not be a car that you ever see normally on a normal basis, but as soon as you put it down, you'll start noticing all the white cars and all the white Maseratis, right? That you never maybe saw before.
I put
Yeah.
that in my mind for an Escalade.
Yeah.
And now I see white, or because I've been teetering, do I want white or do I want black?
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly seeing white and black Escalades. I'm like, yep, oh, yep, there it is.
Yeah.
Going back,
Yeah.
such a great suggestion and awareness for people about the fact that this current moment was created from a decision or decisions in the recent past.
Yeah.
So what you see in your refrigerator doesn't have to currently be that way. It doesn't have to end up being that way in a day or two, because you can change it through your processes, your thoughts, and your beliefs and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's,
Great
yeah.
way to put that up.
Right. And you know, and it's not a reason also, like I see people like get down on themselves, like because they'll see the reality, the you know, their current reality, and then they'll, you know, for example, let's go with the refrigerator example, right? They go in there and then they're like, well, crap, I'm a crappy person or whatever, because you know, like you notice the next thought after that. And that's the one that's usually going to show you what sort of fear, what sort of doubt, what sort of limiting belief is underneath why all of this stuff has manifested already. And then from there, you can just say, huh, that's really interesting. Like, where did that come from? And what instead, like, what's the opposite? Because the opposite of that belief is what you really truly desire and what's going to lead you to your goal. So to me, like, I think in the past, or let's go with that example plus your Escalade, right? Like a lot of people will say, oh, I want an Escalade. Like that's what I really desire, right? And then they see them all over. And the next thought is, well, God, I could never have that. That's too expensive, right? Because that next thought is where that limiting belief is. And then you can turn that into, like, it doesn't make you a bad manifestor. Like there's no such thing. It's just you're either aware of it or you're not, in my opinion, at least, because that's, once you're aware is when you can make those changes. And like that, knowing what you don't want, to me, is so important, because that is going to show you exactly what you do want. You know, like I just notice what I don't want and just try to like be like a gentle observer of it, or just sort of like say, oh, that's interesting. And that's showing me that what I really do desire is this instead. And that's what I'm going to just, shovel all this stuff up to the side and go with the new stuff that looks like shinier and better and, you know, better package.
One of the biggest things that I realized was that, myself included, and a lot of people always focus on what we don't have, aren't doing, and what we don't want, versus all we should be doing is focusing on what we do want and putting all that energy and focus on that. And so it really is, at the end of the day, when you really, really put it, just peel all of this stuff back, it's really just created awareness and focusing on what it is that you want.
Exactly. And with intention, like that first part of the manifestation process, like you have kids, you have a busy life, I do too. So I like things as easy as possible. Like my husband likes to go on the big long drives. I personally don't, because I'm like, well, I've got stuff to do. I want to go from here to here. So I try to break it down as easy as possible. So for me, it's just like 3 steps from start to finish. It's just ask clearly, which is setting your intention. You know, the next part is acting as if it's already there, you know, which involves a lot of just faith, right? Like pure faith and knowing that it's happening and feeling in your heart that it's happening. And that's like, a lot of times for me is when the stacking anchors can help, because like if you have a feeling, like feeling good is really part of it, because usually these things that we want, or like the perfect weight that we want, or the perfect health that we want, it's a goal that once we get to, we're like, well, like it was, I was feeling good already. Now I'm here. Like I didn't even realize I was here. You know what I mean? And so it's the part in between that's,
they should have been aiming higher sometimes.
yeah, because then you end up reaching your goal easier because you're already feeling good in the process, and that's really the joy and the happiness and the love is all in line with that like vibrational match, to get a little woo woo, but that like vibrational match of what your desire really is, and so it really, and like, you see people that are high vibe or low vibe, like you can feel it. And for me, like if I am going like this and I can like just sit quietly by myself and think about what I want and my intentions, then it gets me on that plane of like, okay, I feel like I have it, it's coming, like I can just set aside all the anxiety or all of this, well, when's it here, why isn't it here yet kind of feelings, because that's just going to push it away even faster. So yeah.
Where people are constantly obsessing about, why don't I have it? Why isn't 10 pounds coming off in a day? And all these, realistic, crazy expectations and whatnot. Yeah. But again, it's another key word is alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
right.
The conscious and the subconscious mind have to work together, and they have to be in alignment.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to have this like tug of war, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate more on that, as far as like, let's say somebody says, okay, well, yeah, I think that is me. I have this desire that I want A, B, C, or D, but how do I know, A, that my conscious mind isn't in alignment, and B, how can I get it in alignment?
Well, that's such a good question, and I actually just kind of did a podcast on that, because it was like what if your dream hasn't manifested yet? Keyword being yet, and what to do. And like for me with that question, it's feeling the alignment means you're feeling good, right? And so if you've got something that you really desire, but for some reason it's giving you anxiety, or it's making you nervous, or maybe like feels icky, or like the inspired action to get there doesn't feel good, then it's either gonna not get you what you want, or it's going to really, like, if it does come, it's not gonna stick around because you didn't get it there. It's more of like the ego desire versus the heart desire, right? So like your head is saying, this is what I really, this is it. But really in your heart, you're not really quite there yet. Or maybe it just needs to be tweaked a bit so that your heart is more in line, and you're, aligned and, on the same wavelengths, on the same level of, what your desires and what'll get it to you quicker, because that is the part that'll get it to you quicker. So usually what I find in that situation is, go back to the journal, ask a few questions. And if you're not a journaler, just sit quietly and, really look inside and ask these questions. Usually it's, what is it you want? So you ask that question. What part of you doesn't believe you can have it, right? And what are you afraid could happen once you get it, right? So,
that's a good one. Like as a business owner.
Yeah, right?
It's always a big one.
Yeah.
For people like, oh, I don't know if I want to.
Yeah.
Taxes, and until once that was brought to my attention, that was a really good one to say, for me to really think like, gosh, I never thought about that, but I can kind of see how some business owners be like, yeah, I'm just going to play it safe back here. I'm managing my tax bracket here.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Once I kind of up level with the big dogs, and I'm making, all this, a lot more money, or however you want to word it, that the taxes are scary.
Yeah. Or maybe even like you've got a fear that once you get to that point, so much more will be required of you that you don't have time with your kids, or you won't have time to like do the basic things around your house, or eat healthy, or clean it, or whatever, which, I mean, you can obviously there's, that's where you bring help in, right? Which personally I would love too.
Yeah. No, it's so
So,
true. It's so cool that when you had brought up the fact that when you the limiting belief comes up.
yeah.
Oh, wait, no, the fear and then the limiting belief.
Yeah, I
Is that
think
what it
so.
was? And that's a really
Yeah.
good tip right there because
Mhm.
even with myself, I'm no master at this, but I'm definitely active with being aware of my thoughts
Right.
and really, all of that. But never had that perspective of, well, once you have this, then this is going to pop up. Kind of like when we release emotions, when
Mhm.
we release
Yeah.
anger,
Mhm.
we immediately have to release the sadness.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
kind of like those two come together.
Mhm. Right.
Like, yeah. So that's interesting.
Mhm. It is. And then like I said, like don't, like you definitely want to just be an observer of it, and like it doesn't mean that you're like a bad person or that you've made the wrong decisions or that you're never going to get what you want. It goes back to that polarity part of it's showing you, okay, well, this is good to know, like I need to work through this, I need to dispel it, because these limiting beliefs we have are just lies we've told ourselves since, gosh, like basically we were kids and didn't even know we were getting them, right? So, and they're thoughts we've just continued to think over time and over time. And really it's easy to fix them because we just, like with the NLP techniques, like obviously that's a little, like that's very quick, right? But I mean, you have to recognize that they're just lies that haven't gotten us where we want to be anyway. So what would be the harm in just saying goodbye to them and resupplying yourself with things that are going to be more empowering and be more productive and get you to your goal quicker and get you to stay there? Because once they're your new beliefs, they're in your brain, they're in your subconscious, they drive your brain as much as they're driving your car without you thinking about it, right? Like you don't have to usually think to like, oh, I need to make a right at a 170-degree angle, right? You know what I mean? Like your brain does that on autopilot. So you want your brain to have these new beliefs on autopilot too. Because that's what, I mean, before I grew up with, like my parents are both teachers. I had two younger brothers. I was in college when they were, so we obviously like didn't ever eat out. My mom's scared to death of flying, so we drove everywhere. I definitely grew up, we were paycheck to paycheck kind of family. So it's a lot of limiting beliefs there around, oh, in order to do that, we've got to win the lottery one day. My husband actually and I were just talking about this today, I think. It was today or yesterday. And so, like, you come a long way when you start to get to the point that you're like, oh, well, yeah, we can pay to go to this and go to this, and then it'll all just come. Like, the money and these unexpected bills that come up to me when I look at them, I'm like, well, I guess that's a sign I'm making more money soon.
That's a great reframe or a great shift in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
We should probably, thinking about it, we should probably discuss what NLP is.
True.
Some people are like, what? What do they mean by NLP? What is that?
Mm-hmm.
So, you guys, honestly, NLP is just basically neuro-linguistic programming. Did I say that properly?
Yeah.
I'm just saying NLP. And it's really just the communication between your conscious and your subconscious mind, right? I mean, there's anything you want to add? I mean, it's really just about finding that appropriate language.
Yeah. Because like, people typically like go through life and they struggle either with like the internal conflict, like part of me wants to do this and part of me wants to do this, right? And then or like unresolved emotions, like the anger, the guilt, fear, sadness, and grief, and then the feelings of like, I'm not good enough, or limiting beliefs that you might have, like I'll never be able to do that, I'll never be as successful as them, or
not me.
Exactly.
Like, oh, that's my friends. They're the ones who own and receive their success. Not me. I'm just their cheerleader.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and and it does all come down to like, even in the training, I remember I was having a hard time because I'm not a very visual person. I was like, they divide us into like 4 different categories based off of if you process things more visually, you know, kinesthetically, like feeling, like I'm sensing this is happening, right? Like, or, you know, auditory. And turns out my husband is he's not very, you know, surprised at this, but I'm a blend of all of them. So, and more so on like the kinesthetic side, I guess. So, or I mean, auditory, I don't know. It's just, like it was spread amongst like pretty evenly. So for me to sit and do some of these exercises that involved getting a clear picture in your mind and all, really like it was tough for me, especially in a situation where there was, you know, 30 other people talking to each other. So we got to the end of the week and I was like, well, this is crap. Like, you've gotten so much out of this. Like, I'm just ready to go home. This is crazy. But I had to like really tell myself, okay, well, this is just obviously a belief that I've formed now over the course of this week. And
so
yeah.
You realize that, oh my God, see, that's powerful.
Right. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go into this with no pressure. Like I was going in with like way too much pressure as the day went on or week went on. So by the last day that we were there, I was like, okay, I'm just going to go in here and enjoy myself. And if I get something out of it the last day, at least we're going home to see the kids and we're doing hypnosis in the afternoon. And I can definitely do that. Then I'm like, well, hypnosis really does go down to your subconscious brain. I'm like, oh my God, okay. I've got it, yeah.
So let's go back to that because that's important. So it was your mind was kind of like discombobulated. It was like all over the place. It was like, wait a minute, I need more tangibles, or I need something for you to kind of create that whole thing. And then you realized that you just had a belief that. It was just a difficult thing for you, and that, you know, it was almost like, yeah, forget it.
Yeah.
It was almost like, for me, it just reminded me of when you said that I used to believe that I just wasn't a good student. And now I realize that I'm actually a really good student. I don't believe it. But for years, I told myself that I wasn't. So I, in the past, prior to doing a lot of my self-work, would have gone to that class, that week-long class, and probably really just would have half-assed it because I believed that I wasn't a good student.
Right.
And so chances are I probably would have halfway through found somebody to party with.
Right.
While I was there and just like blew the whole thing off.
Yeah.
So that is so good that you brought that up, because how often do people start things
and not do it?
Don't complete it. I call it the professional quitter. And it all has to do with just that old story that they keep telling themselves, that old belief that I can't do this anyway. It's not for me. How often have we heard that? It's just not for me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's because you keep telling yourself that.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a lie.
Yeah. Or that like, oh, well, I mean, they're good at that, but I don't need to finish this because I wouldn't use it anyway. You know? Yeah.
It's so, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I think a lot of people can resonate with that. Like, oh my God, I just keep quitting and starting over because it's a belief that I have. It's a belief that I never finish anything. It's a belief that I just can't.
And you know, one thing also I wanted to say that I thought about, I was actually talking to my husband about earlier, because one of his goals is to do a half marathon. And he's probably run like 3 times in the last 2 months. And I'm like, you know, you're going to have to probably, I don't know, why don't you sign up for a half marathon like somewhere, because then that'll get you to your goal. And so I started thinking about it, and he's like, well, you know, I mean, this goes back, I think, to, wait, what did I write? Doing what, like when you, being aligned. I meant to mention this when you're aligned, but it goes along with this too, about like half-assing things. So I think maybe subconsciously we have that belief, which makes us choose things to do, or choose, like, for instance, running. I know, like, I'll get into for like a month and I'll get like really good shape, and then I'll be like, oh, whatever, like, I'm just going to screw off for the next 5 years and never do it again, right? But like, because I'm not really that aligned to it, right? So, but I didn't really get that much good benefit out of it, except for, like your legs are toned and it burns a lot of fat and it gets you in shape really quickly, right? But yoga, like once I got into yoga, it was a different story. Like I didn't have to trick myself into exercising or, not look forward to going. Like it almost more like would ruin my day if for some reason I was stuck on a conference call for work and couldn't make it, like it was a completely different story because that was more aligned with what I am and like what the benefits that I got out of it, like not only quieting your mind, but I sweat like crazy. You get a lot of toxins out that way. You stretch, you get more flexible, which that like I really usually need help with. So for that being more aligned with me, that helps me reach those goals and stick with it longer, right? So it's like so important when you're choosing a goal or you setting your intention out there that you also follow that inspired action that's going to get you to your goal, but it has to feel good. It can't just be any sort of action. Like it has to really feel good to you because that's going to make you happy.
Yeah, that's so true. It's kind of like when somebody says, well, let's use the marathon thing.
Yeah.
I just want to run a marathon. Well, why? Because I know it will make me lose weight. And that's not always necessarily true. And we could go into like my hormonal coaching and stuff like that. This conversation could be directed in the whole other way. I don't believe in running marathons for weight loss. But some people like the process of the whole marathon, all that stuff. But, then going into, okay, and signing up, then they hate every time they run. They absolutely hate it.
Yes.
And so, but I'm doing it because I signed up for it.
Yeah.
But I don't feel good doing it. So in other words, that's your inner being saying this is not in alignment.
Yeah.
That's basically resistance.
Yeah.
And
it is.
We feel good when we do it, and it just really sets our soul on fire, and we get tuned into the proper channel. I know for me, when I'm exercising and it just helps to clear the channel and I can really tune in. I get a lot of clarity and I get tons of ideas for stuff.
Yes.
And so that's when I know I'm truly in alignment. Another thing too, and I just want to go off on this alignment.
Yeah.
Is I was just talking to my coach the other day about when I decided to relaunch my Metabolism Reboot Academy. I knew that I was in alignment because I instantly felt completely inspired, full of energy. My sleep, not that I am an advocate of less sleep is better, but if my sleep is not, when I am not affected by a little less sleep, those are all cues that you are on the right path. At least for me.
Yes, totally. Oh yeah, like I 100% agree there because I can't even remember for the last few weeks, like I've been going to bed regularly at like 1:00, sometimes 1:30, and I don't even realize it. Like I have to make myself go to bed because I know our 2 little alarm clocks are going to get up. They're not going to let us sleep in. But yeah, like I like to look at alignment as like, then we can go back to that running analogy, like doing your marathon. If it's something that you hate, and you're just not really that into it, but you're hoping it's going to get you to a place that's going to make you feel good. Like I think of it as like you're listening to the classic rock station that plays like Aerosmith and like ZZ Top and Tom Petty, and you're waiting for them to play Cardi B and Ariana Grande. Like they're not gonna do it. Like it's not gonna happen. If it did, it's a fluke because somebody came in and played a joke. But like if you want to go listen to Ariana Grande or Cardi B, like you have to tune to a different station that's gonna make you feel good. Which means pick a different type of exercise that's gonna get you to that same point, and you're probably gonna get there faster. Like. Yeah, exactly.
This is such good content for my audience because they're like, oh my god, that's so me. I felt so good
it's
when
me
I was
too.
doing whatever CrossFit. Like for me, CrossFit is not in alignment with me. That does not feel good to me. But like you said, it wasn't awareness that you had said. There was a word that you had said, and it was
Yeah.
Some people like to say higher power. Some
Yeah.
people to say highest power. It just has to do with your language.
Right.
Like what feels good to you. Now, what's a different word for manifestation? Is there another word for manifestation? Like you know, like has it ever been like reworded? Because if there might be like an everyday word. It's kind of like the choose a number from 1 to 20. And it's like, oh, number 10. I saw a 10. Well, that's your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
But if we do time techniques with them, they're like, I'm having a hard time with this. I can't see anything. And it's like, you're just overthinking it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I hope I'm making sense
here. No, totally are.
Yeah. And so it's just about what resonates with
you
and what doesn't. So sometimes I think people push and purge things away only because they have this belief that, oh, that means it's voodoo.
Yeah.
Or that's woo-woo.
Yeah.
Here,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But
yeah.
In their language and words or language and words that they feel like, oh, okay. Oh, you mean God? Oh, okay. Yeah, God. God. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think like maybe living like really intentionally, you know, like setting your intention, and you know that to me is a lot like manifestation. And I totally get it, because even sometimes like when I say manifestation, like I feel kind of like woo, you know, but like really that's what it is, you know, and it's everyday life. Like you're doing it every day. And I think like when I first read The Secret, or actually I should say listened to it, because I was in a job where I was in sales and I was driving to Palm Springs, and I had this like, manager. Oh my God. She was the absolute, oh my God. It was like, I don't normally have anxiety. I'd never like not really gotten along with somebody unless it like really wasn't my, like it was like, obviously I wasn't trying, but with this lady, it was like next level. And so I started listening to The Secret. She actually like made fun of me for listening to The Secret. Like one day she's like, you might want to go listen to your secret again. And I'm like, come on, lady. Like, are you really going to make fun of somebody for like self-development? Come on. So like, really.
That was like your inner being telling you, like, you guys are just, it's like oil.
Yeah.
So
well,
feel good comes in. It wasn't feeling good.
No, it wasn't. And so, but when I first started listening to it, I was like waiting and waiting and waiting for this like silver bullet, right? Like The Secret, it's supposed to be the secret. And like, I never found a secret. I'm like, what in the world? This is like, what? Like, did I miss something? So I listened to it again. And I'm like, okay. It didn't really start to sink in until like, you know, truly until a couple years later, when I don't know if I was just at a point in my life where it all just like came together, and it made more sense, and it was more applicable to being able to replicate it intentionally.
And receive. That's the thing too, is that some people are blocking their own blessings. They're not open to receiving.
Yeah.
I can't, you know. And they think that there's something not humble, but something
oh yes, not spiritual. It's like not spiritual to have a lot of money. Yeah. You have to
right. Yeah. And then what's the other word? Noble.
Oh, right.
Some people think noble to not receive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the case. That's not what the universe wants for you.
Yeah,
or
no.
You could say God, you know, or
yeah.
you could say Jesus, you know, whatever it is that you resonate with.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
We really need to be open to receive.
Right.
And that's the thing too. I want to say there was an episode that I watched on Oprah with her. Who's the lady who does she got the real short hair. She's the African American lady, and she has her own show now. And I remember her and Oprah having this conversation, and Oprah said, I basically put you on my stage. And it wasn't like she was saying that she did something bad or what have you, but her name's like, I can't think of her name. Fix Me, Aylana.
Oh, yeah, Ayanla Von Sant, that one?
Yeah.
Van Sant or something. I don't know. I'm probably butchering her name, but.
That's the lady. And she basically said, I just wasn't open to receiving at that time.
Yeah.
In her mind, she wasn't worthy of being on Oprah and being in that position that Oprah was so, like, Oprah obviously saw something in her, and clearly when Oprah touches you, I mean, you become...
Yeah, like a golden god.
Right, you know what I'm saying? And I just wasn't ready to receive at the time.
Wow.
So what, like, that to me was super powerful. was just like, that's absolutely true. You have to be open to like, yes, this is my time. Now I can start to help people and what happens like that.
Right.
That alignment and that receiving end.
Yeah.
When people say, nope, I don't take. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, because you could always take it and then give it to someone who needs it more, right? And one example of that is when we went to Tony Robbins, they gave us a copy of his book Unshakable, and I already have one at home. That book, like,
who wrote that?
Oh, Tony Robbins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about. Okay, Unshakable.
Yeah, his book Unshakable, and he I already have a hardcover copy here at home that so we had 2 copies, and we went to register, had all our stuff, and I don't know about you, but my guilty pleasure is reality TV, like the Bravo, Vanderpump Rules, and all those. Yeah, I love it.
I don't watch that stuff.
No.
But I know what you mean. I think it's a little intriguing. Like, it's intriguing.
Yes. I honestly, like, I wasn't into it at all until when I had Stella, my baby. Like, she's a year and a half now. So I was home on maternity leave and actually had to have surgery done. And so I put that on during the surgery and then got home and I was like, I've got to get Hulu. So yeah. And like my husband's into it too, and like we're just both dork out over the whole thing. So we went to go see the 3 restaurants that they have there in West Hollywood, and on the way, we got in an Uber and got in a conversation with the Uber guy, and he was like, "Oh, does Tony Robbins, like, he's a self-help guru, right? And I got all the money mindset stuff down. Like, I've really been studying that. I just don't know how to apply it." And I was like, I looked at Ian and he shook his head. Like, we didn't even talk about rapport, right? We didn't even have to like say a word. And I was like, well, I've got a copy right here. You can keep it. He's like, oh no, I couldn't. I'm like, no, please do. Like, I've got one at home. Don't worry about that. Like, I think you really need it. I think you did. So if I hadn't accepted that from Tony that day, I wouldn't have had it to give to this guy who really needs it. And he probably wouldn't have gone and bought it for himself,
That's what I call the angel.
Yeah.
Angel companies. That's interesting that you say that. That's a great example. So kind of like yesterday, I felt compelled to give some information to somebody that is much younger than I, but I just kind of felt like I just kept getting this nudge.
Yeah.
And I took 30 minutes and I put the information in the video and sent it off. And that right there is just another example of, and they were willing to receive, but it's just, you have to listen to those nudges.
Yeah. You
have to get the proper, the proper pair of glasses on. I'm going to move my wall here. But that is so cool. It's like the universe, there is no question in my mind.
Yeah.
That there was no coincidence there that Uber driver it was sent to you in your path.
Exactly. I know. I get chills about it like all the time. It's great. And it's crazy all the synchronicities that happened while we were out there. Like, it's just, it was every single day, like all day long, just like crazy. It was a little overwhelming because I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Obviously in the right place at the right time. Pardon? Yeah.
But not to interrupt because I just got so excited.
Yeah.
Because it's all about who you're surrounding yourself by.
Yeah,
so
true.
When you were around 15,000 people, you guys are all tuned in on that same vibration. So let's talk about vibration.
Yeah.
Move into my vibration goes what? How far out? Your vibration.
Yeah.
So all of these people, you guys are all vibing on that same vibe for how many days?
Yeah.
Right? So you're like, antennas are out like, you got like feelers all over the place.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So it's like, of course, all of that was happening.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if we were able to live our life like that every single day?
Yeah.
It's so important to find those social MVPs
and
have conversations like this more often so that we have that awareness and we have that, okay, oh my God, I forgot to do that. And I talked to Cassie. And so now that's going to make me want to, read my whatever. So that's so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Kind of like even when we were in our NLP class, days, you could see the rapport
Right.
within everybody. You could feel that vibration. I still have a sense of missing
Yeah.
the whole, almost like I look at everybody as one.
Yeah.
Kind of weird, like that whole thing, but it just felt really good because my mind was so expanded, I guess you would say, and so in tune to that, that even when I was on my way home sending messages and things like that, I'm like, man, I am so into this wording. Like, this is just coming natural.
Yeah.
But then you come away from that, you aren't around these people, then you start to revert back. So this is why, going back to even the manifestation stuff, it takes continuous practice.
Yeah. It's a muscle. Like, it really is. I look at it like, your manifesting muscle, right? You constantly have to keep using it and have to keep retraining yourself. And I mean, I'm not like, I do things at different times every day, right? I mean, there's a lot of factors that come into play with, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old and a full-time job and, everything like that. But like, also, it's just important to do what feels good to you, like as part of your rituals and stuff like that, because you're going to continue to do them, right? But also taking continuous trainings, always expanding and growing and going to events like what we did and the Tony Robbins thing. I mean, it was crazy. Just 3 days of the 4 days. I mean, I didn't even know what my name was at the end of the day because we were we were just so shot. Like, we would just go look at each other and be like, okay, I'm gonna go to bed, right? Like, this is like, there was just so much like constant stimulation in a good way, right? And so, but yeah, like going to those live events, reading books, listening to podcasts, doing YouTube, like, if you're into the manifestation talk, like I do YouTube a lot of those Abraham Hicks videos. I don't know if you've ever heard of Abraham Hicks.
I have, but I've never tuned into any of them. I've always heard of that.
Yeah.
I've never tuned into that, so I think I need to do that.
Yeah,
check that out because it's always good to, the thing is that people always, they get this, is it going to cost me money?
Yeah, right.
Well, here's the thing, guys. Let's talk about money for a quick second. The more that you put out, the more that you're going to come back.
Yeah.
It's going to come back. And so, some people call it the return on investment. So, I've been personally, since, been working on this whole thing, is I've been, I used to, my money belief was not great. Mine was very similar to like when you were talking about your childhood.
Yeah.
So, like tipping.
Yeah.
Tipping has been a really good way for me to get a better relationship with money.
Right. Yeah.
And spending it on attending things like the NLP. I haven't been to Tony Robbins, but you have to get comfortable with putting it out to the universe.
Yeah.
Will come back.
Yeah.
Right? So being
yeah.
a speaker of the information, like you were saying, like you could start with the books and the podcasts and the YouTubes and things like that, but eventually you're going to want to surround yourself more. And that's one of the biggest things for me, and I'm sure for you, is when I go to these events, my other intention is not just about what I'm learning, but it's about who I'm connecting with.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, because we're all connected anyway, right? So that one exercise we did about the rapport, really teaches you that. And so being around the other people, in fact, even at the Tony Robbins event, like he forces you to get to know everybody, I mean, you have to high five and hug everybody around you. And there's people from all different backgrounds. But 15,000 of us just in one room. And it was like 2 football fields long and everything. I mean, it was just, and we did run into Corey, our friend from NLP training. We saw him a couple times. It was
the food thing.
I know.
I've been actually meeting with him on Zoom as well.
Yeah.
So
But and even that, like that would be a great, that's great ways to continue, staying in touch with people that are on your same wavelength and, just keeping your, I guess, was it Jim Rohn said you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And that doesn't have to be people that you personally see on an everyday basis, right? Like, it can be people that you watch on YouTube or that you follow on podcasts or, that you read, the books that you read, or just any sort of like content there.
You're hearing, reading, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
As much as I would love to continue talking, we can talk all night.
I know.
I have to make a decision on what to do with it.
Right. Oh, yes.
So, anyway, let's share with the audience here
Yeah.
how they can follow you, and then what we could also do too is once we end, you can hop back in and put your information in the comments, like how to find your podcast.
Yeah.
Just toss out your podcast name now, and they can find you.
Sure. Yeah, it's the Make Over Your Mindset podcast. I just talk about like money mindset, mostly manifestation, like all the topics that we talked about today. It's a heavy money influence, because usually that's what people want to hear about the most. And I really love talking about it. And then I'm under the same handle on Instagram and Facebook, and the website's the same. It's all Make Over Your Mindset. And currently I have enrollment open for if you're interested in finding your soulmate. I have a soulmate manifestation class, and it's based off of the same process that I did to meet my husband. So it's very exciting. Yeah, even down to the vision board. Oh my God, I still have it. My friend thought I was nuts, but I have a vision board still that was just a marriage vision board.
You can manifest anything.
Yeah.
It could be a person, a job, a body.
Yes.
It can be whatever
You can.
your biggest desires and dreams are. So,
yes.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This was so fun.
I know. I agree.
And again, thanks again. Sorry that we were late, you guys, but I have to take care of my family here. So,
yeah.
But all right. Well, wonderful. Thanks so much.
Thank
and
you.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night.
I will. You too. Bye, everyone. See ya. Loved this episode of the Make Over Your Mindset podcast? Head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated so more high vibe people like you can find us. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.